Let's turn to Mo Brooks now. Mo Brooks, of course, Republican congressman from Alabama. He sits on the Armed Services as well as the Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks for your time this afternoon. Let's start with the speech last night. How does President Trump pay for more spending on defense, infrastructure, the wall? How does he do all of that while also promising to lower corporate and individual taxes?
Well, I don't have the answer to that at this point, and I'm anxiously awaiting the kinds of details that we need in the House and in the Senate to actually conduct an examination and a voting process with respect to legislation that covers the kinds of things that you're talking about. Hopefully, the White House will be able to put together a specific bill before long on a myriad of different issues that allows us to be in a position where we can examine it and crunch the numbers. As everybody in America should know right now, we're facing a debilitating insolvency and bankruptcy of the federal government. It's just a matter of when. 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Nobody knows when it's going to hit us, but we know it's going to hit us if we continue on the financial path that we're on. As a consequence, we have to be much more financially responsible than we have been in the past, and the questions you asked are right on point in that regard.
Well, Congressman, here, in addition to that question, can the president afford to do any of those things or some of those things while also promising not to touch entitlement programs? Is that feasible?
Well, certainly. There are a number of things that can be done that empower us to do the kinds of things that President Trump talked about last night. By way of example, we've been suffering from an anemic economy for years now, where economic growth has been consistently less than 3%. The 60-year average is 3.3%. A boost in economic activity, GDP growth, in turn increases federal revenues while decreasing reliance on welfare programs that cost us so much. If Donald Trump's economic plan is successful in increasing economic growth to traditional GDP annual averages, then we'll be in a much better shape financially than we are right now. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing, you mentioned building the wall. Well, if we build the wall and we save taxpayers the net tax losses that we are incurring right now of roughly $99 billion a year because of illegal aliens, the cost of services at the city, county, state, and federal level versus the revenues and taxes that come in, that can save us $99 billion a year. So there are ways that he can do things.
It should be noted that presupposes that building this wall, first of all, that it's going to happen. Secondly, that building the wall is going to keep out all of those undocumented immigrants that you just mentioned. President Trump?
That's true, but for each one that we keep out, that's a saving in welfare costs, or it's opening up a job for an American to have who will no longer be on welfare instead of an illegal alien holding that kind of job.
That also
it's a decrease in our health care costs. It's a decrease in our education costs.
That also presupposes that immigrant was going to actually take a job from that American worker, and that American worker actually wasn't going to lose the job to, let's say, technology or automation, which we know is a far greater culprit of American jobs than immigration.
Well, that is a factor, but we do know this. Each job that is taken by an illegal alien is a job opportunity that is lost to an American citizen. And I'm like Donald Trump in that regard. I'm here to represent Americans and America. And I want those jobs to go to Americans, and I want illegal aliens out of our workforce that employers now have to pay Americans more to get them to do that work that has to be done. And as American workers are paid more, that in turn better empowers them to pay for the cost of their health care without us getting into this huge federal bureaucracy that over the long haul is going to hurt the quality of our health care, at the same time increasing the risk of America suffering through a debilitating insolvency and bankruptcy.
Do you think we need entitlement reform?
Oh, no question we need entitlement reform, if nothing else because we don't have the money. If you kill the goose that lays the golden egg, then nobody gets anything. And that's what happens if you have an insolvency and bankruptcy of a great nation like the United States. You not only destroy the wealth that's been created by more than 200 years of labor by our ancestors, you also destroy the ability of our kids and grandkids to have the kind of opportunities that we've been blessed with because of the sacrifices of those before us. So entitlements, you've got 87 different wealth transfer programs that cost us $800 billion a year. Those have to be examined. Now that's not including Social Security or Medicare.
Okay,
those are earned entitlements. They have to be addressed in a different way that does not force anyone who's on Social Security or Medicare now to lose any of the benefits they're now receiving. And there are ways to do that.
President Trump talked about, he laid out some principles on health care specifically. He didn't address a lot of the issues that seem to have caused some friction in the House Republican conference. For instance, whether to support new tax credits to buy coverage, that's a key one. Leadership also reportedly talking about loosening requirements for what insurance plans have to cover. And then there's the question of how to address Medicaid expansion, block grants, per capita. Where would you like to see President Trump come down on those issues?
Well, with respect to Medicaid, the governor of our state of Alabama and numerous legislators have contacted me and said, look, give us block grants and we will take care of the health care that is now provided by Medicaid, and we will do it more efficiently than the federal government is now doing it.
What happens when the cost goes up in those states, though, Congressman? What happens
That is up to the states to decide. Let's bear in mind that all 50 states, each and every one of them, is more solvent than the federal government is. So if there's going to be an incurrence of higher costs associated with giving away health care, the states are in a better position to be able to handle that burden than we are. And I'm one of those who believes in states' rights. I believe that if you have 50 different states trying to work on the best solution to a problem, you have a better chance of one of them getting it right that the others then copy, than relying on one-size-shoe-fits-all feet, which is what the federal government does. Whether it's good or bad policy that we promulgate, it's the policy we're stuck with. States, on the other hand, can be the incubator area where they can discern what is best, and once that best is determined, the other states can then emulate it, and we'll all be better off for it.
Congressman Mo Brooks of Alabama. Congressman, I always appreciate your time, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure.